Well, I met him at A&W in grade 11, or when we had set up a meeting to meet at A&W.
Oh, okay. You're just like, "Are you getting the team burger too?" Oh, okay.
Hey, a nice teen burger. What bands are you into?
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. This is the Scoped Exposure podcast. For a very exciting episode, I've been very much looking forward to. I think when you're in this DIY culture of music, you have few opportunities to be able to have those full circle moments, to be able to give the roses and thank the people that like helped put you on the path of where you are today. And this episode is definitely that for me. This guest is someone who probably has influenced me in multiple ways through my heavy music or just music journey in general. So it's an absolute pleasure to be welcoming on Matt of Means and Northcote on the Scoped Exposure podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today, my friend.
Hi, Spencer. Great to see you and hear from you, man. I'm getting tears in my eyes already. Yeah.
Well,
Nice to see you. Thanks for the welcome, by the way.
of course. I always like to give a little bit of context about how these interviews or the ideas of these interviews come together. And, definitely with
Yeah.
my current band that I'm playing in, we did a little short tour out to BC with the good friends in Shallow End. And Steve, who plays bass in Shallow End, found out kind of a couple shows into the tour that he also played in Northcote. And so the idea, I'm like, oh, is Matt going to come to the Victoria show? And I think that there was in the heat of our set as I'm, just trying to do my, mosh commandments, if you want to call it those. I think I pointed at you and then I kind of had a moment of like,
That
Bec-
was awesome. I remember that. I thought, did the guitar player just ask me to mosh? And I think I was like, I think he did. I love this.
yeah, I think verbatim, it was something along the lines of, um, I want everyone in in this room to move. You in the gray shirt, I'm talking to you, and then me realizing that it's Matt in Means, who Means is a huge foundational band for me getting into this whole
Oh
thing. I was
man,
like, even you,
sweet.
Matt, and then we just played our last part.
It was
Um,
something like, "You know who you are, motherfucker," something like that. And then I was like, "Whoa, I think he's talking to me." But you know what? You really encouraged me to, I because Stephen being in Shallow End,
Mhm,
we're starting to go see Shallow End more and going to more hardcore shows because they're starting to play a lot.
mhm.
And then I got a mosh call there, and
That
it's
could be the
just
first
I'm getting
domino of many.
well, I'm getting more back into hardcore, right?
Mhm,
In the last year or two since the last record,
mhm.
and so maybe next time we see the band play, I'll actually be in there because I
Okay,
have started to loosen up the buttons a little bit.
okay. Well,
I just try to take it easy those too, but you got to get into it though sometime because the music's in there, right?
Right. I promise the next time that that we're playing Victoria, I won't call you out by name. But I do like the thought that you would throw down at the next opportunity. That is very hilarious. Um but Matt, before we get into the music chats of this episode, it's a must on the show to check a beverage before we start and really get into the weeds. So it's tradition for the guests to go first. So tell me what you've been sipping out of that mug of yours.
Okay, well, I brought a cup of coffee. It's cream.
Okay.
That's in the mug. This one, this is one if I've been running around all day and just need to crush something.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes down one or two swigs.
Okay, the
Coconut
coconut
water.
water. Yeah, nice
Yeah,
pick.
if it's, if I'm running dry. And then in the evening, I just found this one. This is
Oh,
the
okay.
this is the brewery here and look how
Phillips.
small the can looks on the computer, eh? This is the brewery in Victoria.
Okay,
They got a near beer, alcohol-free beers. So this is my evening,
okay.
chilling in the evening with the near beer and then the coconut water just when I'm just at my wit's end, I just crush one of those.
I understand. I appreciate you coming stocked for this episode.
Yes, yeah. We
Uh,
can go either way. See?
yeah, very much so. The coconut water, my wife, that's her go-to when she's feeling parched. I noticed you just have the regular old no flavor action. Is that by
Exactly.
choice?
Oh, yeah, just classic.
Just classic. Got you.
Because I'm looking for something quick to just crush,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm. Understood. And that Victoria, brewery, I'm not familiar with, so I'm gonna have to do a little research after this episode. 'Cause,
They
my
got some
sibling lives in Victoria, so I need to ask them what um, the go-tos are. I don't know if you have any certain breweries you wanna shout out from the island.
well, Phillips is the few people on the softball team I play on. They
Oh,
work
okay.
at they work at this brewery, right?
Mhm.
So I know those guys a little bit, but they just came out with an alcohol-free beer line, which is great. But they got beers with unicorns on them and spaceships and they got hip kind of ones that are more like mustaches and they
Mhm.
got kind of dreamy stuff and kind of out there stuff.
Yeah. But I think the most things for
Pick your
craft,
poison.
um, the thing at least that I look is like, is the can cool? Because that's the kind of the initial thing, and then you find out if the contents within are actually worthwhile.
For sure, and the first sip too, when you know, you know.
When you know, you know. That's right. Beverages for me, I'm drinking my current favorite AHA sparkling water flavor, which is the grapefruit orange. I just did a podcast just before you and scarfed down a ton of curry for a quick lunch. So I need something to balance the spicy. So that's what I'm going to be drinking for the ep.
Nice, cheers.
Yes. Cheers to you, Matt. Very excited to do this podcast with you. And thank you for coming on.
Here's Spencer. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, my friend.
Oh,
So, Matt, obviously, a lot of people tuning into this podcast are going to know you for one or two, or one of two things. Either people will know you from your Northcote project, which is a lot of the singer songwriter acoustic stuff. And there's going to be people tuning in from when you were playing in Means, which is, again, a foundational band for me growing up. I mentioned this when I had Dylan on the podcast. He was episode 106
cool.
from season 2, and he because this will be past 200 episodes for season 3, but the last Means show in Winnipeg was like my very first like real deal hardcore show where PA systems are falling and people are climbing over one another in a church basement, and ceiling tiles are bouncing around. So I credit that to be like the first real experience where like I felt what hardcore music was doing to people as far as like the energy and the passion. And so definitely going to be talking about both of those things. But I always like to start at the very beginning about how people even discover heavier music or more DIY music outside of just like hearing stuff on the radio. So tell me where the path starts for you when it comes to that.
I remember maybe grade 6. I was uh, I was going to go to a referee camp to become a hockey referee. So I was a hockey player, and I just wanted to live at the hockey rink, right? When I was 12 years old, 13 years old. And so to become a referee, I had to go to an all-day clinic. So I took a ride in a car with some older kids could drive.
Mhm.
They were going to become referees too or get their training. and so I felt pretty cool. I was like 13 years old, just a chubby kid trying to see if I could be a ref, hanging out with the older hockey players.
Mhm.
And on the way to the hockey to the class, the the music they were playing was NoFX, Nirvana. That's about all I remember.
Okay.
Maybe Green Day, but NoFX and Nirvana. So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes was the NoFX one, and then In Utero. That's the first, because I'm the oldest sibling in the family I grew up in.
Okay. How many
My
siblings do
bro
you have?
Four.
Oh, okay.
My brother had a Smashing Pumpkins cassette that he got somewhere. My younger brother,
Mhm.
and we used to drive around, and we had a truck like on the not it's not a farm, but acreage.
Yep. Mhm.
We had a truck on the acreage, and we drove around listening to Smashing Pumpkins. But that day when I was going to the referee school was the first time I heard fast, no effects drums
Sure. Okay.
with quirky ska kind of guitars, and the songs about that album has the songs about how the clams have feelings. So there was a bit of humor,
Sure.
you know. And I would say that, like, finding older, just guys a few years older than me. Like I had another friend named Jeremy at camp who showed me Good Riddance and MXPX and
Mhm.
a hardcore band called Straight Faced.
Straight-faced. Okay.
Yeah, and there was one called Raised Fist as well. They're still kind of going, I think. But yeah, Jeremy was an older friend that I met at camp too.
Mm.
So I mean, I'm talking like 12 years old, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and that's kind of where I first got into like. Then I started looking on my own.
Mhm.
You know, like,
Yeah. So, and for those that know like the lore and the history of means, so you're growing up in Dauphin at this point in time.
I grew up in Carlisle, Saskatchewan,
Oh,
which is
okay.
like it's at the southeast corner of Saskatchewan near Estevan.
Okay.
It's like 30 miles from North Dakota border. But
Okay.
when I was 14 or 15, I went to a Christian boarding school in Manitoba.
Okay.
So
So that's how you kind of moved over there. Okay, I understand.
yeah,
Mhm.
my folks said, "Do you want to go to this Christian school?" And I said, "Yeah." I know a couple guys into music who are going there that I met
Mhm.
at camp.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And I grew up in this religious denomination where lots of people went to this certain school.
Okay.
So it would be kind of like a Mennonite school, or it's a rural Christian denomination.
Right.
So it was common for people to go there, send their kids there,
Mhm.
get married there. Culture revolved around the school. So I went there from age 15 to 19
Mhm. So,
with my punk rock CDs too.
right, right. So was there would you have not gone if you didn't have at least some friends who were going there to be able to like, well, it makes sense that so and so are going, so I can go as well. Without that, would you have not made that jump per se?
I probably would have, because it was ingrained, like, what I felt as a teenager, that I was destined to be some type of minister.
Sure. Okay.
I was raised a devout faith, and I liked it. I benefited from it. I've got treated well.
Hmm.
I enjoyed the studies, and I wanted to make my parents happy.
Hmm.
And I like, and so that all kind of went together, but it went side by side with the my curiosity
Sure.
with the hardcore expression.
Hmm.
So
Totally.
they're both growing up at the same time
Totally.
for
So
me.
I guess like you make that move to this boarding school. When like, were you doing anything, like, music-wise, like, before this move, or was it like, "I'm just a spectator and a consumer at this point. I'm not, like, picking up a guitar and doing anything for myself just yet."
So my mother had me in piano lessons,
Mhm,
and at church we used to read out of the book so I could follow the notes.
mhm.
And I loved school band. Like, I loved band so much, and I used to be kind of in little skits, and like, how interpretive dance kind of became funny as like corny.
Yes.
Oh, I did that shit, like, so much when I was a kid. Like, I did I would dress as a lady and do air bands and do all kinds of skits, but then when I went to the Christian school, they did not have school band. There was, like, a gap missing there, right?
Oh, there was, like, no
There
music,
was there
anything?
was no th there was a little bit of there wasn't really theater either at that time.
Hmm.
There was just kind of, because in the denomination, in the worship music, instruments were forbidden, so you couldn't
Oh,
really
okay.
rock out. I couldn't get my guitar out or my trumpet or whatever.
Yeah.
It was based on the hymns,
Very
acapellas.
traditional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
traditional singing. So
Mhm.
so I think that having an electric guitar, I was already playing electric guitar at home. Like I used to play in the garage.
Mhm.
And then I did play a little bit in junior high for people, like after school.
Yeah.
But I took my electric guitar to the school with no music instruments, and that. But the jamming with buddies filled that gap. I guess
Mhm.
what I'm getting at is, like, if I didn't go to the Christian school, I would have loved to have been like a theater kid or a band
Right.
kid. I love band, so
Right.
like, and I'm kind of doing some stuff like that now. Like I'm 37, and I'm volunteering at UVic for a broadcast team, and
Mhm. I
it's
saw
it's
that.
like a lot of like the theater kind of vibe. So I'm really happy about that. But that's another thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well yeah, the I wasn't sure how I was gonna be able to loop it back, but since we're talking about it, it's funny how, you wanted to do that stuff so early on, and then I'm checking your Instagram today, and I was like, "Oh, Matt's a hockey announcer right now." So, it all comes back around, I guess.
Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe it's just like the things I really want. It's just surprising how they kind of have found me in strange
Totally.
ways.
Mhm.
Like I really loved band, but this in high school they didn't have a band, so we just started a punk band,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. So you're at the school that has no like arts or music stuff because it's like very traditional. So that kind of forces you into jamming. Um, tell like maybe this is fast forwarding a bit, but when did the idea of means, I guess at the time would have been means to an end, come to be?
Probably there was my friend Blair was there, and we were jamming with Chris, and then we met Aaron,
Hmm.
and what is it? Blair and Chris graduated, moved away. I think probably when I met Aaron was when I thought, okay, we're gonna be a band.
Hmm.
Aaron was so intense about his music fandom,
Hmm.
and his love for music is so pure, even now.
Hmm.
And
Totally.
when I met him, I could just feel that, like that we had that in common. That this is like really serious to us and really close to our hearts. And I met him at an A&W in grade 11, or when we had set up a meeting to meet at A&W.
Oh, okay. You're just like, "Are you getting the team burger too?" Oh, okay.
Hey, a nice teen burger. What bands are you into?
Yeah.
No, no, we had planned. We had planned. Um, but yeah, I mean, Aaron, our friendship was real. Is like there's people have kind of Todd and Dylan or super close to me too, but Aaron is like the heart and soul of Means.
Sure. Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
he was always pushing it forward with a passion, and the sacrifices he made. So I could tell that right away. So I would say when I met Aaron, I
Mhm.
was like, okay, we're gonna be in a band and probably do this.
Yeah. Because in my interview with Dylan, it became apparent that he came later, when it came to, like, the formation, of the lineup, and, it was very clear to me through my conversation with him how a lot of the vision and the lyrical direction were things that you were kind of taking the lead on, and he was kind of filling that role. Was that the intent or just happen out of like necessity? Because sometimes that happens with bands where it's like the lyricist is just doesn't have like they have a great voice, whether they're singing or screaming, but maybe it's just like the actual creation of the content is a struggle. So was that something that was I'm going to do this since day one, or was it like, oh, like someone needs to do this, so I might as well do it?
Well, Dylan was already a skilled front person.
Hmm.
He he had a band called Statement of Service. He was already good at lyrics. That's why we loved his music. But means I had a vision for it
Hmm.
that was that I was passionate about, and I explained the vision to Aaron and Todd and Dylan, and I told them the pictures, the colors, the words, the riffs. Aaron made up we made up the breakdowns and stuff, and Todd and Dylan and everyone was supportive of that vision
Hmm.
and added to it.
Yeah,
So it was like I was the creative director, and then Dylan would take the lyrics or the parts and add his own feeling and
totally.
put it through his own face, and heart.
Hmm. Yeah,
So it was it was like kind of like I wrote the play, but then we all acted in it kind of for the
understood.
music.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've definitely
You
been
know?
in projects where I'm like, I have that vision. I'm like taking the lead on it. And I think every band needs that. I think some of the strongest albums have it as one kind of main person, but then there's like little pieces that, can be tweaked through input of others. But I've also played in bands where it's like I'm purely passive because I admire the vision of someone else. It's like I don't want to mess with the sauce that's happening here. I just want to play my part, which was at the end of the day just playing shows. So I don't think one is equally better or worse. But I just understanding correctly, like, yeah, the vision was established through you, and then everyone just played their role in making that vision a reality.
And added.
And
I
added,
wouldn't
yeah.
s- I wouldn't say I brought it to 10 out of 10. I probably brought it along, and then the people brought it over the finish line.
Hmm.
So hard to describe really, because uh but we're all very detail oriented and really watched what everything kind of felt like and meant, every part, every riff. Later on in my music career, in like the country, like it wasn't really like that.
Right.
It was more about flow and like, but with the hardcore music, there's something I'm getting back to now is like the intentionality of every riff going into, these words feel really good with this riff right here. I don't
Right.
know why, but this feels really good. This means a lot to me. This makes me want to scream along. And when I was trying to write pop music or country, like trying to get on folk festivals and stuff like that,
Hmm.
it's not exactly the same because I was always trying to do a formula that could be memorable or something. It
Hmm.
wasn't as explosive,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
like a hardcore song is like, boom, here's a really important part, and then boom, here's some other important shit.
Right.
But like if you're writing a country song, it's just kind of like, all right, this whole thing is about a journey. Like,
I got you.
it's not as urgent.
Right. Yeah, there's
And
not like you need to pay attention to what's happening next,
mm,
in this moment.
yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, lyrics are always difficult in any. Yeah, lyrics are difficult in the songwritery stuff, but
Yeah.
interesting to compare.
Yeah. So, speaking of being so detail oriented, because I think means was so important to me not only off of that first real live experience for myself, because this was 2011, and I was at the time, oh god, 17 at and I'm 29 now, so it was like very like formative ground for me. But I think a huge point that was very accessible for me was like a lot like melodic hardcore as a whole was just really present and really like um it was the thing that a lot of bands were doing. So you would have like people that would have the singy aspects, but it was like, the really long extended dynamic and emotive bridges. And it's funny now cuz like there are still melodic hardcore bands, but it's just not the thing that's, on everyone's lips at this point. So, out the gate, did you feel like, because I think something too that I heard through Dylan's interview was, at the later points in Means, and I don't want to skip too ahead, but at the later points, it just never felt like it was connecting with people. So do you think that Means was like just early in your guys' sound sonically, or do you feel like it was right on time and it ran its course the way it did?
I think everything was on time. Are you asking me about any regrets or something,
No, no,
or
no. Just
towards the end, what it meant to the end or something?
I guess it's more of like the subgenre that you guys were playing in.
Yeah.
Um, to me at the time, that was the time that everything was
Yeah.
happening. Do you feel like it could have gone further? Um, or do you feel like no, we were in that pocket of when that
Oh, got it.
subgenre was thriving?
I don't really know. I think um, that I just immediately think of um, my pal Billy is in the band Silverstein,
Hmm.
and they are doing better than ever. They're still
Right.
going and playing and making records. I think it's uh, probably about just connecting with the fans and having people come and go who are into your music. They come back, they go. I don't really know what would have happened with Means. I think we were definitely like our style was changing towards the end of the band a little bit faster and more choruses and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. It would have been fun to see where we had went, but uh, I don't know. We were pretty unique, I think. And
You absolutely were, and I think I'm thinking too. We did an interview with and it might be out by the time this episode is out, and if not, it's coming. We did an interview with a guy named Colin Young who sings for a band called Twitching Tongues from the states, and we talked a lot about how them being as they just wanted to write rock and roll music, but, like, had, like, super heavy, like, breakdowns. So, them writing a really strange and quote, unquote, "weird" style of music, if that came out today, it would be, like, so wildly accepted because there's so much diversity in the hardcore scene right now with, thrash bands playing with beatdown bands and youth crew bands playing with, New York hardcore bands. But back then, it was so siloed. So, I guess, like, it
right,
almost I don't think that band would be as special as they are if it came out now. I think the time and place that they were, quote, unquote, "underrated," but, like, they still had, like, more, like, cult fans versus, like, wildly accepted, I think made that band cooler, and I think when I think of Means, every time I talk about that band, either at a show or on this podcast and people know about it, it's like, "Oh, yeah, Means was, like, an undeniable thing, during their time." That was kind of the question I was trying to play, if you felt the same or differently about that.
well, it just makes me think of like what we were trying to do, but we ended up making Means. Like we were trying to be like Misery Signals and
Sure.
have beautiful melodic parts on guitar but we ended up kind of we never really got to sound like Misery Signals really. But we had our own things, and then we tried to be when we were faster. We had done a tour with a band called Life in Your Way,
Mhm. Great
and then
band.
and of course Comeback Kid too. We loved them. But so then we tried to be a bit faster, but we couldn't really sound like them either. So that's kind of funny too. It's like we're trying to be just like them. We ended up finding our own thing,
Mhm. Yeah,
but it's kind of hard to tell when you're on the inside of it what it even is like.
totally. So something else that I wanted to talk to you about, and again, this comes up anytime I talk about means with anyone is that you being a solo guitar player, but doing almost being a maximist and doing so much with, just in a live setting. So how tiring was that for you? Where you had all these intricate parts and like, you're doing all this where it would be so easy if you had a second guitar player, but you just never did, right? You never had a second guitar player means.
No, we never did. Um, I never thought about it. I don't remember us ever thinking about that too seriously. But we might have, but I just remember it was frustrating when I would have technical problems
Oh.
because then there'd be no guitars, and I felt bad. That would happen. Like we'd go play a big festival. We're like all fired up. It's like 3 in the afternoon. We're playing near Chicago. We're playing with As I Lay Dying or something like that. It's like, hey everybody, what's going on? And then the guitar is out, and that happened a couple times. And
Oh no.
but so that was a lot of work. That was stressful.
Right. Yeah. And
you
and
know,
you
like
and your guys' music, it's not like, "Oh, it's just we can get through this part with just bass," because it's like a lot is leaning on you in your crazy guitar work.
yeah, we all had to be all of our stuff had to be working. Right? But
Right.
I would always be like drenched in sweat after shows, but that's just kind of what I'm like. And, and then the riffs, I think now I would have a hard time relearning them probably,
Mhm.
but the riffs, they're probably all in the similar kind of zone. Like I was talking to Chris from Flatliners, he's subbing in for Hot Water Music the last few years,
Yeah.
and I was like, "How did you learn all that stuff?" And he said, "Well, once you get the hang of like the zone where the playing is happening, you start to anticipate where the notes are going to go and
Mhm.
the style of the mind of where the riffs are." And
Yeah.
so it's like the fretboard is kind of just becomes almost like the way you move or walk or something.
Mhm.
So it's not like it's harder. It's but it takes focus,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
If you're, if I think it would have been different if I was more into drinking then, or if I had more into having girls in every town or something, or if I was more into trying to get money, or if I was just so into the music, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's really, really special
Mhm.
and not a joke. Like, it's kind of like what I'm trying to longing for right now with Northcote, because those distractions I talked about, it's like, I kind of, I went out in Northcote and now I'm like almost trying to come back to that heart.
Right.
But it's so special.
Mhm.
Anyone who's in a hardcore band and has felt that will know, or has connected with the hardcore music will know.
Yeah. And again, it doesn't go to say that other genres of music can't have that energy and that like passion because I've definitely been to non-hardcore shows where I'm like, whoa, like I could just feel it in the room right now. But I always
Yeah.
feel it in the room at a hardcore show.
Hip hop is like a few years ago I saw RZA from
Hmm.
Wu Tang, and it's just boom, like when he started the show, it was just like boom. It was like in, you
Hmm.
know,
Right.
it's a lot like that. Like I love Wilco and all that stuff too, but people hanging around, they pick up their guitar and they start going, and
Hmm.
it's a zone.
Yeah.
But like I, I'm showing I'm naive if it's RZA or Jizza, but RZA when he played is like boom,
Hmm.
focus, like.
Right.
So you're right. I bet you EDM is kind of like that too. I don't know, but it's probably. I mean, it's all good. I like it all. I'm just telling you the special stuff for me.
Totally. Yeah. So other aspects of means that I think as a young person I was like just obsessed with the band. Um and something that I think is unique out of most guitar players that I was seeing in the scene was the actual guitar that you were playing. Um and so you were playing a Schecter Tempest custom, black,
Yeah,
gloss black, gold binding, gold hardware. Um Kinda like for those that don't know, it's essentially like it's not like a double cut. It's kind of in between a Les Paul and a SG in shape. It's still got a
Yeah.
little bit of point, but not super pointy. And again, just being so young, I was like, okay, well, this is the type of music I want to play, and this is the guitar that I need to play with. So I went out and my first guitar ever was a Tempest Custom, and
Cool.
yeah, there's many photos of a young Spencer with very long hair,
No
no
way.
facial hair, rocking that in a crappy little pop punk band. But yeah, little fun
That's
fact.
so cool.
Yeah, obviously it's not like your guitar that you worked with Schecter. It just was like the signature thing that you would always be playing.
Eh, yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm,
love that guitar. And
mhm.
you know who else? Like the the guy from Cancer Bats, one of the original guys with the long hair.
Mm.
Before Cancer Bats, we played in Mississauga at a Masonic lodge, and he was in another band. I want to say Impending Doom, but that's the wrong name. It was some kind
Okay,
of scary name like that, like
okay.
the world is over or something like that. It was some hard. I can't remember, but they were great.
Mhm.
But that was before Cancer Bats, and he was in there. He kind of had that thing going on.
He was
It
playing a
kind of
Schecter? Yeah.
well, or something like it. It was like
Mhm.
kind of it's not like hardcore like an Ibanez or like it's not like a Les Paul. It's not a pop punk. It's just in the middle. It's uh yeah, I like that guitar too.
Mhm.
I don't know where it is. I thought it was at my sister's house because I lived with my sister
Right.
when the band broke up for a while, and I think I've lost the guitar. I don't know where it
Oh.
is.
Yeah, I was that was gonna be my next question is like, is that in the closet off screen there, or is it like it might just be missing, MIA?
I Yeah, I think it might be gone. Isn't that strange? I feel sad now, but can't take it with you, right?
Yeah,
Like you can't take these things. Like,
yeah. I think there's definitely been certain guitars that I look back, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like I I remember this guitar as like my initial thing, but like, at the time, I need to sell it to buy the next bigger and better guitar. There's only one guitar that I regret selling, which is and based off how you were describing the old Cancer Bats guitar shape, I was like, oh, maybe it's a Fernandez. Fernandez
yeah,
was like a guitar company that a lot of hardcore bands were playing in or playing with. So their Gibson model was, I think it was called the Monterey, and then there's like you imagine like a Gibson Explorer shape,
yes,
but like kind of like round out the edges a little bit more. And it's just this
yeah,
huge hunk of wood. Um, I think Close Your Eyes existed when Means was maybe on the tail end, but Close Your Eyes was a band that was on Face Down. We're on the Face Down? No, they're on Victory. But their guitar player had one. And I think at the time I'm just like I would see people play guitars of like I want to play that and I would source it out. So
it's cool.
mhm.
Yeah, I've used lots of pedals. It means I enjoyed that.
Mhm.
Just kind of more. There was an indie rock aspect to it too, because I loved Monine and Choke. That whole kind of indie rock bar bands from when I was in college.
Mhm.
That helped me kind of fill out the sound too.
Yeah.
But I've never been a gear. I've never been a gear person really. Gear kind of comes and goes for me.
Hmm.
I'm not really skilled at engineering. I'm doing my best,
Right.
but
It w
you know,
it was a little bit more on just, like, the actual song writing and the creation versus, like, "Oh, can I get this bougie delay pedal to make this sound?" It's like, "Oh, I wanna create this sound, but I don't it doesn't really matter how I create that."
yeah. Well, I've always had lots of help with that stuff. Like Steven's awesome at that with Northcote.
Mhm.
Mike, the drummer, is awesome. Mike and Eric, both the two people I play with at Northcote, are really talented engineers. Like they can
Mhm.
make records and stuff.
Right.
And then in means like Todd was really good with, you know, so I've always had people around me that can help me with that part of it,
Right.
which is probably on purpose. So I could be a drama king, drama queen, lead singer. Tell everybody how to play the breakdown and
Right. Well, I
Uh,
feel like that's a great segue into the next thing I wanted to talk to you about because, again, going back to the at the time melodic hardcore or just like singing in quote unquote heavy music, whether it's like a screamo band, a post hardcore band, a melodic hardcore band, there was a lot of like meshing. You know, here's the singer, and then here's the screamer or the person doing the harsher vocals. And the thing that I always thought was really cool about Means, because any other band I was listening to, it was like the highest falsetto, like I'm trying to reach for the stars with some of these notes, and and just your register on how you were doing vocals was just like, and I mean this in the best way possible, but it was like it was just these like manly vocals, but they were still as soothing, if not more, versus someone just trying to flex their falsetto, if that makes sense. So was that intentional, or is that just Spencer? This is just the way I sing.
I kind of am a yelly singer. Like I
Hmm.
used to be a yelly singer more, but I still kind of am. I, I remember with Northcote, my former manager Ian, he mentored me a lot, and he was like, "You got to sing, man. Don't scream so much. You got to sing, sing. Don't yell at people." So
Right.
I always that's hard for me to balance even now. Like I want to sing nicely to people, but I have that thing in me that expression that's wants to be more wide or something.
Hmm.
Like, like it can't always be sweet for an hour long show,
Right.
you know?
I want to
So
captivate people. I don't want to put them to sleep.
it's just natural for me.
Mm.
Like I think I'm making fun of myself for being drama mama, but I have a dynamic feelings in my music.
Right.
So right, I'm screaming, I'm yelling, I'm whispering. Uh plus, plus I was probably going for like I mean Alexis on Fire, I was probably going for something like that, but that wasn't exactly right either. I
Hmm.
mean, there was some yelly singers like Sparta was pretty like at the drive-in and Sparta were kind of popping.
Hmm.
We were doing that, the kind of yelly singing, like math rock, indie rock, yelling and singing kind of stuff. Me Without You was a like kind of a Christian
Yep.
e
I
type
remember Me
band.
Without You.
They used to kind of yell and talk and sing, and
Hmm.
I liked all that stuff.
Like,
So
would you get people coming up to talk to you about your style of vocals when Means was like on tour and playing festivals? Or is that just something that after the band wrapped up, people were like, "Man, do you know how different your stuff is?" But in like a really good way.
I don't remember much of that. Like I'm just now starting to hear of some bands citing the means as an influence.
Hmm.
But it could be that I'm just opening my heart to it a bit more, honestly. No,
Sure.
seriously, like the last 6 years, I'm just, or 10 years, whatever it's been, trying to make it as a singer with Northcote. Trying so hard. I want to get a hit song and get a apartment and like get a condo or whatever, but it just never happened. And now my heart is more open and soft to like that era,
Sure.
you
Okay.
know? So maybe people have been telling me about this the whole time, but I don't remember. There were people like around Face Down Records that would say that I remember be liking my singing.
Mhm.
That meant a lot to me. A couple guys.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know though. I'm kind of shy and rude, so it's like we didn't really talk about that kind of stuff, right? We were just like driving around.
Right.
We didn't.
Uh,
It wasn't like, hey, you know what, man, you're a really good singer. Like,
right.
it's
Um,
just "Is your guitar on. Okay, let's go."
yeah, yeah. Um, so using that as a bit of a segue, like, Means, comes to an end, you guys play your final show. Was the idea of Northcote like in the midst of maybe the final, I guess, chapter of that, or did that come like after like music and playing shows wasn't um the daily rotation, if that makes sense? It wasn't something you weren't thinking about on the daily. So yeah, at what point did the idea of Northcote come in?
I think I had a solo record, a CD, a solo CD, um, in between the Means full lengths. So I'd already been kind of gigging around.
Oh, okay.
So
That's not the
um,
first Northcote record, is it?
it used to be called the Emerson Letters, and
Oh, okay.
I did
Yeah,
a
yeah.
couple tours like that, and I played in some living room shows and a couple bars, and
Mhm.
uh, I opened for Dan Mangan on that tour before Dan had his hit song,
Okay.
and that helped me kind of grow up my own identity outside of Means a little bit
Mhm.
because uh, I was really proud of Means, our reputation, but I had just wondered if there was more different stuff out there for me.
Mhm.
You know, like this, there was this kind of thing like if my singing could be accepted outside of hardcore too.
Mm.
I had that curiosity.
Right.
Plus, I had buddies that just weren't into hardcore, like doing shows with Andy Schaff, like in the little coffee shops for $5 or
Right.
for free.
Mhm.
And we didn't really talk about hardcore at those shows. We kind of more, would like try and have a cigarette instead.
Sure.
So there was that part of my musical brain was kind of already turning on by the end of Means. Uh, so it was easy. I think it was maybe easier for me at the end of Means, although that was like a pretty big event. Like that, I was a little bit lost there for a while. Like after Means broke up, I kind of was I wasn't myself for a little while.
Hmm.
You know, like I got into some relationships like too early and was drinking more and started smoking and I was doing stuff that wasn't really like it was a rough breakup kind of, although
Sure.
we're all friends, it was a big change. I should
Right.
say it was a huge change.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of wasn't myself. Yeah, I was sad.
Mhm. Well, again, like a project you're clearly you were clearly passionate about, not only just like doing it with the people, but the music itself. Like almost like the minute that like you hit that first note, it's like a part of you. It's not just like I'm playing music, it's like I'm just doing.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
the crowd is like playing the music too. That
Right.
whole thing,
Right. Yeah, singing
you
back
know.
to you. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So,
yeah, that's really great.
so you already had like a little bit of that, and I think you brought up an interesting point because whether someone does another musical project or they do something even outside of music, there's a little bit of a I think it's very cool to see how either if someone starts a totally different music project or they're doing like a business or like starting something, because the community has felt so impacted by that person, there's already kind of like a not a handicap isn't the right word because that implies a negative connotation, but more of like a springboard to help that startup be a little bit stronger.
Yep.
So did you feel like as soon as you dropped that first Northcote album, it was like the majority of people listening to this right now are people who were listening to me when I was in Means, or was it an entirely new crowd that you were breaking into?
I think I felt like, oh, this is me. I'm doing it all me. Wow, I'm so good. But the first, even now, still, there's a continuation of Means to Northcote because we're talking about it here right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I have a lot of love and support behind me in Means and Northcote working all together.
Mhm.
Like I don't like Northcote will never really be separate from that. You know, I tried like I wanted to write a hit country song, have Carrie Underwood play it, and get I tried to do it in that way, but it didn't really work out, and I kind of crashed and burned. So
Hmm.
at the start of Northcote, uh, well, the other thing is Northcote was able to go to places Means never could. Like I toured Europe a whole bunch. I did some cool support tours with, I was going out with Gaslight Anthem and bands like that, which means wouldn't have gotten to. So
Right.
in that way, it was kind of like just the mere genre change kind of made some opportunity.
Mhm.
Um, is that answering your question?
Yeah, totally. Like, I think, yeah, there's definitely like s hardcore right now is in an interesting spot where there is like just bands and people getting opportunities that felt like a pipe dream even like 3 or 4 years ago. It like and that's anything from like playing a mix like seeing multiple hardcore bands play a mix bill tour with like huge name like rap artists
Right.
or festivals having 5,000 people play an outdoor thing in California. Like some of those things would be like, "Oh yeah, that'd be awesome if it happened," but it's just there's a fruitfulness right now where it's just like, it's just happening. But I think at the time, yeah, it definitely makes sense where even just on the genre change, it just became a little bit more accessible to go out to other places. Plus, like at the time, like was it just you or did you have the full backing band
I
to
had
do
kind of
that?
a rotating cast,
Yeah.
but you're right. Things happen. Like I got one of the records got a couple songs on CBC, was on the radio, and stuff
Hmm.
like that. That I wanted that. I wanted to see about that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
There's no way like any mean song would ever be on the radio, even at this point.
yeah, I don't know. I guess I believed that. I thought, right, like, yeah. So, which is silly because in many ways, Means is more successful than anything I've ever done or maybe ever will do because we sold so many CDs, right?
Hmm.
We did a great job and have got lots of fans. So having a song on CBC, it's not that important.
Sure.
But it's just something I wanted and wanted to try. I
Hmm.
was talking to Colin Stewart, who produced the Northcote record that I just finished, and I was telling him about this. Like, just I'm having a bit of regret of how much value I put into making it as a songwriter. Like, I really wanted the big song, right?
Mm.
And I've let that go a lot. And Colin's like, well, don't beat yourself up about it. Like, it's good to go for the things you want and to try.
Mhm, totally.
It's good to experiment and try, and it's cool that we do these things, right?
Mhm.
So my dog just woke up.
Oh, okay. What's your dog's name?
Gigi.
Gigi. Cool. Good
She's
nap for
sleep,
Gigi.
she's sleeping right beside me here. We
Um,
I've
I think to your point, like, I don't know, something that I always remind myself because, like, I played in many bands, I record tons of podcasts, I film lots of bands, and for me, it's always like I'm always, like, thinking I'm one away of, like, that breakout fill in the blank. So that breakout podcast, that breakout song, the breakout, video of a moment of a band, and, sometimes it's not like that thing will carry and change everything for me. Sometimes it'll just carry me to the next one thing that will do that, and, yeah, that's thinking that I had to apply, like, early on because it was the same thing of, like, "Oh, I just need this one thing to happen," and then you almost put too much pressure on yourself to be able to focus on, like, the dream single versus, like I think everything you've put out, for Northcote has been, like solid like songwriting stuff that to me it's like I would rather have all this music that is like super super good versus like maybe Matt writing one really great song that everyone knows him for and then everything else maybe loses a little bit of that. That's just me personally. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Oh, thanks, Spencer. Yeah, it's a hard part of the creative because we wanna. I want. It's like wrapped up with desire, right?
Right.
Like there's things I want to happen with my creativity. But if I'm too intoxicated by like the result, like, okay, I'm going to do this so I can get on the radio or
Mhm.
CBC, or I'm
Mhm.
going to get on Calgary Folk Fest or whatever.
Mhm.
Right. if I get this, I'm going to get on Calgary Folk Fest. And then the heart of what I'm trying to make, it's elusive. It disappears. It's like it doesn't come from somewhere because the desire took over so much.
Mhm.
That could have, it's just hard to balance those things. It's all, it's all working together.
Mhm.
Like it's really difficult to make things expecting without having that desire on the other end.
Right.
It's make to make the music or make the art, the painting or the just from that place that you have to make it, not expecting anything on the other side.
Yeah.
Because this is America, everything's got to have a reason. Everything. Why are you going to school? What are you doing? Why? What are you going
Right.
to be? What is it going to get you? What's it going to get you? What's
Right.
going to come of that? Why are
When
you
are you
doing
gonna
that?
get there? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, what? What? That's the classic question with going to school. Oh yeah, what did that do for you?
Right.
Right? It's like it's like fuck, like leave me alone for a second to like
Yeah.
make something, right?
Mhm. Or
And
or allow me to test waters and purposely fail so I can learn from that and know if I'm cut out for that. Um, I I totally hear you. I struggle with the same way where it's like, you know, like the brand that I do this podcast and film bands for, like Scoped Exposure, like we just turned 5, and it's like I think the quote unquote expectations I had maybe when we like first started, it's like, oh yeah, by 5 we're gonna be doing this, 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 and we've done like some really really cool things like in Canada, in the states, and that I'm super grateful for. And I think over time, the more that we've done, the more maybe the I know things will happen. I'm just not thinking I'm not like gonna tie that happening to a specific project, to a specific timeline, if that makes sense. I'm just here to show up and to like, you know, chip off the bit of iceberg that I can for today. And if that is the thing that unlocks everything, that's great. But if it doesn't happen for another 5 years, that's what it is. But I know it will happen. That's the thing that I tell myself at least.
yeah, always I got to remember too, like the privileges I have, right?
Hmm.
Have supportive partner, family, roommates, place to live. Not
GG.
like everyone. It's not GG. It's not like everyone can like be an artist, right?
Totally.
Seriously,
Yeah.
right? Like, um, so and I do like when artists. On the other hand, I do like when artists are like, I'm making it to the top, man. I'm doing it. I'm getting the money. Like I
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
So there's all sides of it. But I think where I'm at now in my life, kind of maybe spiritually too, a little bit about truth. It's whatever that is what is right. Like what is right that doesn't get a payback? What is just the right thing to do without getting paid or attention or when no one's looking. Like what's the right
Right.
thing to do?
Hmm.
You know, that's the whole thing with the learning in Black Lives Matter and the opioid crisis and learn about privilege, and it's just what are the right things to do without getting any credit or whatever. That's the
Right.
true. That's even talking about it, I got shivers because that's the that's uh, truth. I guess there's no word for that, right?
Hmm. The thing that's interesting for me is like you've been doing this Northcote thing for a long time, but it's like cool, like you were saying, how that is still like, your main project. It's the thing that you're doing, but there's almost like this return to like going to other shows and seeing like other bands like in Victoria. One of the questions I had was like, is there anything specific from your time in Means that you think is foundational to how you songwrite or just do anything in Northcote that without that things would just be so different? Is there any like lessons or just ways of thinking that just by playing in a hardcore band apply to other aspects in your life?
Yeah, I think the connection and the devotion,
Okay.
the connection to the fans and the devotion to the devotion to delivering the music, because you can't, maybe you can, but for me I can't like hit the notes and scream if it's not something that needs to be screamed.
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Like you can't fake it. I mean, you can if you're sick or whatever. If it's all, but well, I mean, you know what I'm getting at. Like you
Yeah.
can that standard from Means is like still. I played a lot of shows pretty drunk too with Northcote.
Okay.
Like, and I still had that um like kind of crying out scream kind of thing going on, but me and like I do the thing I take from Means is like that standard like of devotion to what you're playing.
Yeah. Like knowing your why of what you're doing versus just allowing it to go without intention, like we were talking about before.
Yeah, that's like with Northcote. There's like, so I played lots of bar. Like I play a bar in Lethbridge, and there's like the Calgary Flames game like on behind me or something
Mhm.
like
Right. Right.
that. you know, and that's cool. But like me, but Means or like a hardcore band would just go up and be like, "This is it. This is the moment we're waiting for. We
Mhm.
got 30 minutes. Let's make it count." That's what every hardcore band says, and it's not a joke.
Right.
Like
Totally.
I believe in that kind of.
Mhm.
And but with Northcote, it like sometimes it falls apart a little bit if you're not. I fall apart if I'm not devoted in that way. I fall
Mm.
apart and just like, oh fuck it, I'll just play Tom Petty for 20 minutes.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that too. Like bar music is amazing too, but uh, that's what I'm drawn to with in performing. That's why I'm on a hardcore show, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, when I'm just, like, out with my wife or, like, I'm visiting family and we're just downtown somewhere and there's people, like, busking or, like, doing something musical in that way where I'm like, I think I would actually lose my mind. And I don't think it's I need someone's attention, but to be putting so much into my music that I am just background noise to people's day, that doesn't gel with me. It's like hit when I'm playing my music, I want it to be like the only thing that people are hearing, and you have to scream to even have a conversation with the person beside you.
So, what's on your mind when you perform?
um, like
Maybe not much, okay?
nothing. Like
What so
try
what's on your mind when you're writing? Like or when you're stirring it up?
um anticipation. Like how is this? Because right now, definitely like so you've seen Endgame play, so you kind of know that like kind of the vibe of what we do. But like I'm starting another project right now that's a little bit more like heavier and just like intentionally just trying to be like just music that you would lift weights to. So and just like like it's funny
Yeah.
because Endgame is such a fast band, and this new project, my only rule is there's no fast parts. It's only like heavy, slow
Mhm.
aspects. But yeah, like sometimes when I'm writing, I'm thinking about that, like the future context of that part. It's like, how would this be received if we like nailed it? Like, what do I want people to be doing here? What would I want if to be doing if I heard this? That's what I think about.
Oh, like an action.
Yeah. So it's like,
Oh, cool.
yeah, is this the part that people might not necessarily be like pitting or like two stepping, but are they like, what is happening with all like the different like little
Like dance almost.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hmm.
Because I was just thinking for heavy music, it's or for songwriting, like a songwriter, it's like, okay, the song is going to be about like how life is short or whatever.
Hmm.
But hardcore music, there for me, in my experience, it wasn't really about anything like that. It was just energy.
Right.
Like it was just like an overflow of energy. It's like you can't even really explain where it comes from. It's just like vital, youthful energy that's like, let's move.
Totally. Yeah.
you know? So I really appreciate it in that way. That yeah.
Yeah, some songs I'm like, we are on a freight train and it is going and there is no stops until we hit this
Nice.
certain part in the song that's almost like a speed bump, and then the train goes like almost like it's flying in the air. Like, I don't know. That's just like one example off of like a certain song that I'm thinking about. That's like the front half of the song is just like blistering fast, and then the last half is like a little bit more of like an intentional like not like breakdown, but like we're breaking things down, if that makes sense. But
That's awesome.
yeah, it's I don't know. I'm always thinking like ahead with the music that I'm writing. One piece that I feel like needs context. So like you mentioned you go to this boarding school way back. The band starts in Dauphin, and then eventually it shifts to Saskatchewan, which the band
Yep.
was for a minute. After the band disbands, when do you move out to where you are now in Victoria?
Oh, there's a couple years there where my spouse and I were dating, and we were both kind of moving around.
Hmm.
I was like 23 at the time, around there,
Hmm.
and we were moving around a little bit. We are kind of that way together as it, anyways.
Mm.
It's kind of in the nature of our relationship. But at that time, it was a bit more scrambly. We ended up in Victoria for a school program,
Oh, okay.
and then we've we've lived a bunch of different places. But I basically came out here to be with her,
Mm.
and so that was she became uh, helped me out a lot at that time because the band was over.
Hmm.
She helped me out because I was per I was 23 and I didn't know what I was doing. We grew up together at that time pretty good.
Hmm.
She was in an intense school program and I was washing dishes and working at a casino. And we had a small place and we were just talking every day about the things we were facing. None of our parents are around.
Mm.
And I remember her dad came out and bought us a mattress, which is very, very sweet. My folks were supportive too, but they're in Saskatchewan and a bit at a distance at that time,
Hmm.
because we were unmarried and we were doing it our own way, you know,
Hmm.
which is funny to some, but to the culture I grew up in, that was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And and then there was a time when Northcote got to go full time. That took a few years, but I got to go full time with Northcote for a while, and those are really happy times for me.
Hmm.
But yeah, Victoria, I still think of myself as a Saskatchewan person.
Okay.
But life is, I mean, we're really blessed out here, privileged.
Hmm.
We had breakfast today, still going, still doing the thing.
What'd you have for breakfast?
I had a vegan hummus wrap and a big scone.
The size of your head.
It was, yeah, it was a big scone. I'm kind of, how you're the beverage
Hmm.
guy. I might be doing a show about scones. Just a
Oh,
warning.
really?
Scones is kind of well,
Matt
you know,
Matt and his scones.
you know
That sounds
that
like
curb.
you have a medical condition, but
It's Curb Your Enthusiasm.
yes, of course.
I've seen, like, I'm not a super fan, but I like it. All
Hmm.
right, but one of my favorite things from that is he he despises soft scones.
Okay.
Like he likes hard scones,
Sure. Yeah.
and I'm really on board with that.
Oh, you okay, you're a
That show
hard
kind of
scone guy.
oh man, that show kind of stresses me out. But I'm gonna go through the wall on this point
Sure.
that a soft scone is just a fancy muffin.
Okay, that's an interesting
That's
take.
It's still delicious, but
I
I'm on.
mean, I'm always like, "Oh, I would love that scone." I'm never like, "Oh, I need that muffin." I feel like the only exception
Oh, nice.
is no, not I won't even say that. I was gonna say the only exception is when I'm at Tim Hortons and I'm like, "Well, I don't wanna get a donut, but I can get a muffin." But I don't know. There are times where I want to get a sour cream glaze over a chocolate chip muffin, but scone I'm always reaching for sure.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you're a soft scone person, I love and support you. I'm just looking for a really rugged and robust, hard scone that's tasty in the middle.
Top
And I've,
three scone flavors. Top three scone flavors for you.
well, just vanilla, lemon, that type of thing. I like when there's berries and nuts or chocolate in there too. But
Hmm.
just a plain. I'm just looking for a little wake me up kind of chewing along.
Yeah.
I don't need to be wowed, or I don't need fruit berry explosion.
Okay.
I don't need nothing exploding on me in
Yeah.
the ever. Like or I mean, at that early in the morning.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
maybe later in the evening, then it's like we'll crank out some,
Fruity
exploding
explosions.
shots or whatever people do. That I would love that, like a dessert that explodes.
I mean, if
Then I love it. But I'm not a morning person. I can't take all that exploding. So just a hard scone, just to let me know that I'm here and just ready to go for the day.
I can't deal with this explosion. It's too early in the morning. Um, well, if after this podcast, if you start Matt Scone reviews on Instagram, I hope that to be the very first follower of yours because
Okay,
I I feel like that's a niche that just hasn't been tapped yet. So
I respect it. Maybe Milano when you come out here and on tour again. We'll go to Milano.
Milano,
That's my favorite one so far.
is it a scone spot or is it like a coffee spot that has these to
Coffee
die
spot.
for? Okay.
Italian's coffee spot.
Okay.
It's not even that dramatic. It's not to die for. It's just plain.
Right.
It's just easy going, solid
Um,
scone.
since we're talking about Victoria spots, what are your thoughts on Hey Happy, that coffee spot downtown?
I only been there a couple times, but I'm for it. But I'm not a regular customer. You?
I've been there every time I am in Victoria. So the last time I was there, I was like,
Nice.
drop me off here. And the reason being is they have, and I don't know if they make them in house or they just get it from somewhere else. They have a chocolate cruller donut
Oh yeah.
that is like top five donuts I've had in my lifetime. Chocolate cruller.
Okay.
So I recommend if you haven't had that, maybe this weekend you're feeling a little adventurous, I would recommend that. Coffee is to die for as well, but the chocolate cruller is
Nice.
that's the mission for me when I'm there.
I'll make my plan to go there. It's about 20-minute walk from where I live.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny though because the reason I brought up all this Victoria stuff is like as a prairie boy myself, I grew up in Winnipeg, so a lot of those a lot of people that grow up in the prairies either are there forever or they're people they're like I need to get out of here and explore, what else the world has to offer. And I think for me, I think I was a little bit more in the camp of like I'm going to be here forever. These are my people. This is like where I have my community. But it was my wife, who's originally from the just outside of Edmonton, Alberta, that like kind of brought us out here. And I'm really glad that I like have seen way more of Canada and just have like way more appreciation. I'm still proud of growing up in the prairies, but like happy that I have so much more options of things to do. And like Victoria is like a beautiful part of the country that like I'm
Yeah.
sure that you like anytime I'm there, I'm like, man, it's tempting to to be there full time. So
Yeah, it's good. It's probably good for me to be here. I mean, very lucky. Like I went for a walk last night to the Dallas Road down by the ocean, and the sky was like pink and red.
mhm.
And I think I'm a kind of a grumpy person by nature. That's why I can be overly cheerful because I just deep down a grump. So so doing those kinds of things. I mean, Victoria's really softening me up in a good way like that. Like
Hmm.
before I moved out here, my prejudice was that, oh, it's a bunch of surfer guys, surf music, white people with dreads. This is bullshit, like because I'm from Saskatchewan and it's pretty. I'm not like rough, but it's -40, and the whole
Yeah,
thing. There's an
you're built
elitism.
different when you grow up there.
There's elitism from there too. Like we can make it through this ridiculous weather for no
Yeah.
reason. Yeah, I remember like carrying because I was just thinking about band so much, being a band kid on this interview so far, like carrying my baritone euphonium band instrument is -40. It's like ice on the handle,
Oh, that's so
and then you
funny.
like open it for band class, and like the whole horn is frozen.
Yeah, you put your lips on the mouthpiece and you're it's like it's so
It's
cold.
like it's frozen all day. It's a really strange place to live,
Yeah, I
but
played the
out.
euphonium in band class too.
Oh, I love it. But I will. I did want to say that like the West Coast people that I used to make fun of it, like now are my friends are like the sweetest people, like the
Totally.
very sweetest. Like they go up to like the indigenous territories and help out with the logging and just like really sweet
Hmm.
giving people. So all that time I was being a grump, you know.
You
It
ate your
just takes a
words.
while.
You ate your
Yep.
words. Yeah.
I
Maybe one of the last things I can ask you on this topic is like, what's the one thing from back home in Saskatchewan that you wish could either be replicated fully uh in Victoria or that, you had just as much access? Is there like a specific restaurant, place that you would always go back home that if you could snap your fingers or wish the genie in the bottle to make true in your current setup?
The first thing is
Okay.
my dad's shop in Carlisle, because I was there all the time as a
Mm.
kid. But he retired and moved to Victoria and has a shop here, so I
Oh,
can go
okay.
there. It's,
Gotcha.
it's not the same, but to me, it's kind of the same thing. Like I go see him now. That's another thing is, remember you're asking me when we moved out here, like recently, my folks retired and moved here
Mm,
to Victoria, but definitely my dad's shop is like home, in my dreams, kind of,
right.
you know. And the Carlisle has a Dairy Queen. That's pretty important.
Okay.
Yeah, but uh, Carlisle, the town, in just the neighborhoods and stuff, because I lived there till I was 14.
Mhm.
That's where I like rode my bicycle around there. I took, I would, I was born in '85, so in 1995, '98, like have my sister in like a wagon and go get ice cream and stuff like that.
Right.
It's a lot of stuff like that,
Hmm.
like uh, having a sprinkler under the trampoline
That's
in the
classic
summer.
90s kids shit if I've ever
Is it
heard
really?
it. Yeah,
Do
yeah.
people do that still, or is
I
that
did that
really
when I was a kid.
really
I'm
tacky?
I'm I was born in 93. But yeah, I remember that.
Mm.
Um Man, sprinkling under the trampoline.
Oh,
That's
the other one is my best pal was Andy Chan, and his family had the Chinese cafe.
okay.
I would visit there too if I went home. I haven't been home. I haven't been to Carlisle in a long time,
Hmm.
but I would go to Canada Cafe for sure. See
It's
Andy's
called
parents.
Canada Cafe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, shout out to Canada Cafe if the owners are listening. Probably not. I'd be surprised, but who knows?
Oh
Um
man, that's awesome.
yeah. So a couple other questions, Matt. Obviously we chatted a little bit earlier about the Schecter Tempest that you were playing in Means, and then obviously going into Northcote, you were still like you've played some electric stuff on your records, but obviously a lot of it is acoustic. Have you gone through different acoustics through the different records you've been doing, or has there been one pride and joy that you've always been rocking?
I had a Taylor guitar when I started, and then I liked it pretty fine. But then I got someone offered me a guitar on an artist deal for 50% off.
Okay.
and I thought, oh, I'll just try it, and it was called Stonebridge. But
Okay.
that's turns out that's the American nickname for this guitar, but it's actually a guitar from the Czech Republic called
Oh,
It's called Furches.
Furches.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Furches with a
Hmm.
F.
Okay.
And so this guitar, I was like, this is kind of a mystery guitar. Stonebridge is kind of a tacky name.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's made in Czech, but I ordered a really nice one and got the 50% off. So I had my Taylor guitar and this Furches Stonebridge mashup.
Yeah.
And then we got in a car accident and my Taylor guitar got destroyed.
Oh, in the car
So
accident?
yeah. So I was
Oh,
left with the Furches.
okay.
And that guitar is my favorite thing in the world. I love that acoustic guitar.
Hmm.
And I have a Martin now, and I got a mini, like a 3/4 Martin, and I've tried other like nice guitars,
Hmm.
Gibsons and stuff. But the Furches, the random Stonebridge Furches, that guy just asked me. I hit him up later too, like, "Hey, do you got any more guitars?" But I couldn't find them.
Oh
I,
no.
yeah, yeah, I'm sure they're still going. But that reminds me, I'd love to get another one. But that
Well, if Furches is listening, Matt needs a fresh stock up.
Stonebridge, maybe they changed their name to like Bridgestone. They
Yeah,
changed their name. They
yeah.
changed their name.
They're like,
But
"Yeah, this won't affect any other future business," and then none of their
Stonebridge
customers
is
can
going
find
to
them
hell.
anymore.
Now it's Bridgestone.
Yeah. Isn't
But that
Bridgestone like, that's a company that what is
it's
that?
tires.
Oh,
It's
it's
tires.
tires, yeah.
But that guitar is on the self-title, all the last four records, and it's on the new Northcote record that I just finished. So
Yeah.
it's the main thing.
Yeah. Tell me about the new record that you just recorded. What do you have a rough timeline of when it's coming out, what people can expect as far as like just anything different or the same that you've done on this one compared to any of the other past records?
Well, I just got the master like this week. So now I'm going to kind of share it to some friends that I trust and love. Like, what should I do about this? Because in the pandemic, a lot of my industry support fell away because the music industry fell away.
Mhm.
And people said, "Hey, maybe we're dropping you. Maybe we'll see you on the other side of this." I don't really know what's out there for me at this point, or for people that like to go out and play for 100 people, or.
Mhm.
So that's all a mystery to me. So I'm gonna like look into that the next couple weeks. I'm
Okay.
kind of on fire for this record. I really like it, and but I'm gonna I opened for Hot Water Music a couple weeks ago, and I might send it to Chuck. I'll just send it to some friends who are like family, kind of
Yeah.
see what they say.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll release it myself, or I don't really know what. I'm not really attached to like, oh, I gotta get on, you know,
I need
Epitaph
to
came to
do
mind. I don't know,
yeah.
like,
I don't
or
need to
like,
do XYZ for it. I want to send it to some people to get some feedback to
yeah.
make sure that it's as good as I think it is, and then we'll just take it a day at a time.
Well, really, what I'm curious about is like, if say you listen to it, Spencer, and you're like, oh, my friend Donna, she works somewhere, and Donna, this would be great. She can help you with getting a show in Winnipeg or whatever,
Right.
or
Right.
a booking agent. What I really want is to tour, right?
Mm,
Um, like I have a day job, but besides Gigi, I mean, I'm a traveler. you
mm.
know, like I'm not a parent, and I love to tour, and I want to go out and sing with people. Like I love meeting people out there, and so that's what I want to do on this record. So those are the two things, like how to release it and how to go play it. That's what I'm working on right now.
Okay.
Probably, but the record will. I'm not going to sit on it forever. I might just put it out myself somehow. I will. I'm looking for some ways to do that.
Hmm. Well, I feel like coming on this podcast and talking about it is one way of advertising that something is coming down the pipe, and yeah, like whether I get the privilege of listening to it or not, I would definitely start to rack through my brain of different people that I either know myself that I could connect you to because I am a firm believer in what you do as an artist, Matt. I am a big fan, and have been for both and all things that you've done. So I'm excited that more music is on the way.
I could tell. It's very sweet that you said that, and that you mosh called me and yelled at me. I loved it. I loved it, and yeah,
There was a
very
moment during that I was
very
like,
humbled by
I've
that.
totally um thrown out the window of any time that I could have a good conversation, but you were just hyped on it. So
Oh man,
that
you
was
know
good.
me. You know me better than you think, probably.
Yeah. um
Yeah,
a couple other questions, Matt, before we start to wrap up the show. I asked this question to Dylan when he was on the show. And I would love to see this, and I've talked to people who would love to see this as well. Will Means ever do anything reunion wise as far as the show goes?
I don't think so. But it's not like I don't think about it a little bit, though.
Mhm.
There, I probably didn't think about it very much, and then lately a little bit more. It kind of comes and goes.
Mhm.
I don't know. Sometimes I think that I can. I kind of could see it happening, but other times I don't really want to do it. So I would like to. I would like to see everyone in the same room. Would be very sweet. Like to
Mhm.
go. I have thought about that, and maybe go see everyone's kids and stuff, and like hang out and eat.
Right.
So that's not very like hardcore news or whatever. Means gathers for a family barbecue reunion.
Tickets at the door to sit in the
Oh
foyer.
shit! Yeah, we're gonna sell tickets to that. Oh, that reminds me of Brittany had tickets to see Paulie D from Jersey Shore,
Oh, okay.
and but when it was like a meet and greet like that, but it didn't start till like 1 in the morning, and so she's like, I can't do that. Like she goes, and but I almost went. I kind of
To
wish I
meet
had went, but
Polly.
yeah.
Damn.
Anyway, so maybe Means will do a Pauly D type thing.
That's I just
Oh
imagine
god, that's funny.
all of you sitting in the dining area eating food surrounded by like 100 people.
Like a wedding, like a 40th wedding anniversary or
Yes,
something like that.
exactly. Exactly like that.
We'll have little
But no
sandwiches.
one who bought tickets gets to eat. Like this is what we're watching.
Oh no, no, like Aaron is a big barbecue person,
Mhm.
right? And I'm a vegetarian guy obsessed with donuts, obviously.
Yep.
And so we're a food,
Scones. Let's
we're
scones.
scones,
Yep.
scones. We're a food.
You're a
Oh,
foodie band.
we will be. No, what I'm saying is we'll have food for everybody at
Mm.
this reunion barbecue. And it reminded me in high school when there was the Christian kids at the Christian school, right?
Mhm.
And we would do shows with like the the bands from the regular school,
Mhm.
like the regular high school in town. And there was a couple cool punk bands, and then there was kind of a more of a Limp Bizkit kind of band, and then a Green Day, and there was a couple punk bands. Um, I just saw, and one of them is still a buddy of mine, and another one I just saw. But anyway, we would used to have food at those shows. I'm serious. It would be like Means and 71 Gaps, and there was the Green Day band was called Doc Brown
Okay.
from Back to the Future, and then
Oh, Doc Brown.
yeah, and then the Limp Bizkit
Do you
band was
recognize what
called.
this tattoo is?
Oh
It's
no,
upside
I
down.
don't. It's nice.
It's the
It's
flux
the kid.
capacitor.
You got it, man. You were there.
I got this on the day that they go into the future in the second movie.
Nice. All
I'm a
right,
I'm a big fan. I
my mind,
We're
my
at the
mind is
tail end of
melting.
the episode, so I don't want to hijack and talk about Back to the Future for another
Do
45
it.
minutes. Do it. um, yeah, I got a Back to the Future poster. I got a DeLorean up there. I got
Nice.
a schwack of things. I'll probably be texting you after this podcast just about Back to the Future.
Well, I would love if Northcote shows in the future had a food element. That would be fun. Or like, like we're joking about this barbecue reunion thing, but yeah, you never know.
Mhm.
Have we could have a bar and free food too. That would be great. I would love that.
Yeah. Well, I only say it as someone that if that were to ever happen, wherever I am in the world, I would be there. And I know a lot of other people probably listening to this podcast feel the same way. So if that were ever to happen, I have a couple ideas I wanted to, you know, I will probably send your way, but it's more out of I think Means again as a band really touched a lot of people and really were really important to a lot of people, especially within the Western Canada hardcore scene. And that's like a big part of why I do scoped exposure is just like giving back to the scene here that raised me essentially. So I wanted to at least pick your brain about that too a little bit, but it sounds like if that were to happen, there needs to be food there. There needs to be visitation. There needs to be good times to be had, which definitely would be a must for sure.
Oh man, thanks. That's awesome.
Yeah. Matt, one more question before we wrap up officially. And I ask this to every guest who comes on the podcast. So, um, tell me a mosh related story to end our interview here. So is anything that's first to your head? That could be a wholesome mosh moment, that could be a scary mosh moment, that could be something that happened at a show you're playing or just attending, whatever's first to your
I remember I got hurt. when-
head.
I got hurt trying to mosh for Comeback Kid in Ontario in like 2012,
Okay.
and it was an outdoor show. Oh man, my favorite shit though from moshing is the crowd when we played floor shows. The crowd stepping on my pedals.
Oh,
I
okay.
love that. I like love that. I that is so amazing. That like when I see videos or pictures of that ever, like the crowd just basically coming up around me
Yeah. Almost
and like
swallowing you.
stepping on my stuff to get to the mic.
Mhm.
I love that every time. So it's not exactly mosh, but it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a part of the energy and people probably moshing and then getting pushed into you and some of that, but
I wonder
name
if
of the game.
Dylan told you this one. We played. Did he tell you about the scissor kicks competition?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
But for those
Okay.
that didn't listen to that, please retell that story because it's a good
We
one.
were playing in Wyoming with Life in Your Way, and there was about 40 people at the show, maybe four, I can't remember.
Mhm.
And we are on a month-long tour, and we decided before the show that we're going to have a scissor kick competition with and remember Todd Mackey from With Honor was in Life in Your Way at that time too.
Mhm.
And we love these guys, right? They're like a bit older than us, and we wanted to be like them.
Mhm.
And so Todd Mackey was like, "Well, let's have a scissor kick competition." And he thought he was he was
Top
like the
shit.
older he was the older musician. He was like, "You guys are screamo. You're not hardcore." But what we did was when the show started, we just hit the open chord,
Mhm.
and Aaron started playing fast. So we did the Comeback Kid kind of like get the train on the rails going, dun, dun, dun,
Right.
dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
and we just hit the note, and Todd, Dylan, and myself just started doing scissor kicks. So the drums were going, and we're jump, jump,
Yeah.
jump, jump, dun, 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 dun. And we did it for a long time, like a long time, until we were out of breath. Like we didn't even start the song. We did it for just a disrespectful amount of time to the crowd.
You're just ringing out and then just like a fast punk beat, and it's just these three
Yeah.
guys just jumping. I was like, wait, is this it? Is this the set of this band? It's just
Well,
jumping and scissor kicking.
Life in Your Way was going to come up second, so we had to get as many scissor kicks as
Oh,
we
okay. You
could.
needed to set the bar.
they had last at
I
bat,
understand.
right? So
Yeah.
it's we were stockpiling as many scissor kicks. we got 1,000. We got 1,000 scissor kicks. I guess we went for bulk instead of style.
Right.
That's another way of putting it. So they were all kind of crappy scissor kicks of just a huge, kind of a chubby guy with army shorts on, just kind of jumping up and down. But I
Man,
remember,
I'm gonna use that definitely, man. Those scissor kicks are more bulk than style because I see, you brought up comeback kid earlier, like all those guys that Jeremy Stew or Chase or even Goose, like they have style when they do it, but they do it in a not overbearing way. It's like, okay, this is the part where we're all scissor kicking, not like I'm
yeah,
on a hunt. I'm trying to get my numbers up or my reps up.
that's what it was like. It was just so crazy, and really just kind of stupid. But
Mhm.
it really fit with our humor too. We liked it,
Yeah,
and, Dylan really liked it too, which I always love when he is happy,
yeah.
and because he was he was I miss him a lot too. He's a cool guy.
Mhm.
Um, what was it gonna? Oh, the scissor kicker that I think of a lot is the anti-flag bass player because
Oh, he's got some
he
kicks?
he flies, or the photography is good anyway.
Mm.
But he looks like he's jumping off of like an ampeg at a festival.
Oh,
Like
okay.
how does he
He's got
jump?
he's got good vertical.
He's doing a scissor kick like up, up where the lights are.
Right. Man. I will say sometimes, like, I felt like I've done, like, a killer kick, and I know someone snapped a photo of it, but it might be a hair late, and then it looks like it doesn't look as stylish, so,
I know
shout out to all the photographers who can nail those kick shots.
exactly. That's really important.
Absolutely. If anything, it's more important. Matt, this has been honestly such a pleasure of mine to be able to talk with you about like all the music stuff you've been doing. And again, I was I hope I didn't do too much as far as just fanboying on how much your, even just the guitar that you've chosen to play in a band, like even impacted me. But yeah, this has been a pleasure of mine to be able to have you on the podcast for season three. Um, all of your links and socials to all your music stuff will be in the YouTube description and in the show notes. If there's anything you want to shout out, anything you want to plug, or anything you want to leave the people, the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, thanks, Spencer. No, I'm good. Thanks for having me on and asking me about what I'm doing. That's really special to me.
Yeah, this
Thanks for
was
I can just picture the fact that you said when you were 17 in Winnipeg at the show. That's really special to me. I can like feel it. So
mm,
thanks for that.
of course, yeah.
And you can
Again,
curse me out at the show anytime.
I promise the next time we play Victoria, I won't single you out. I hope we'll obviously make sure to see each other, and maybe do you know our version of a barbecue because I'm a veg person myself. But yeah, definitely hit you up next time I'm in Victoria.
Sounds good. Yep. Rock hard scones coming our way.
Yeah.